Donovan Mitchell has finally been traded from the Utah Jazz. We waited weeks for this to happen. At one point, I was even thinking like it was not going to get done, just like the KD and the Brooklyn Nets situation. But the first thing that comes to my mind about this trade is, how did the Knicks not get this done? I'm really disappointed on the Knicks franchise. Like, seeing what the Cavs gave up for Donovan Mitchell, I'm 1000% sure the Knicks could have easily beaten this. I'm happy for the Cavs though, because they now have a team that is actually really good without having LeBron James on the roster. But the East next season is looking dangerous. Like, oh my god, I'm excited for the next season. Which brings the next question up. Are the Cavs actually good enough to make it to the playoffs and to contend for a title next season? Let's get right into it and find out. Fitting Donovan Mitchell will require time and some adjustment because a backcourt of Mitchell and Garland, who are both listed as 6'1", present similar problems on defense as the Utah Jazz had with Mitchell and Conley, which the Utah Jazz never actually figured it out. As in every playoff series since 2019, a guard was going off on them in the playoffs. But that's where JB Bickerstaff comes in, the head coach from the Cleveland Cavaliers. He did such a good job last season with a 3-2 zone that it kept defenses from attacking Garland with bigger wings or forcing him into switching into pick and rolls. I can still see, let's say, some teams exploiting that coming into the next season, but only like real contenders come to my mind, which is a good sign for the Cleveland Cavaliers. On offense though, the new backcourt duo is looking very dangerous. Garland is an amazing playmaker. The way he was just getting his teammates involved is incredible. That's why we saw him average 8.6 assists last season, which ranked 6th in the NBA. And Mitchell's athleticism is off the shots. This guy can go 1-2 step and it's out the rim, either getting a layup or a dunk. And I can't forget that Garland and Mitchell are both elite shot creators who are capable of shooting threes. As they both shot over 35% from 3 last season, I do feel a little bit worried seeing that both of them like to take a lot of above the break threes instead of more in the corners. But both of them never had to take a lot of corner threes in their career because they've always been the primary playmaker on their respective teams. But if they want to be more effective and they want to be a better team coming into the next season, they have to sacrifice for each other. Like, one of them has to try to take more catch and shoot threes, or both of them. If you don't do that, then you're going to have two playmakers that's going to be like Russell Westbrook and James Harden, like ball dominant players. But you got to try to turn the games more into like a Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, like, you know, something like that. They don't have to be Steph and Klay. Just try to get some more catch and shoots, move around, like off the off ball. Just try to implement that to the game. Off ball movement, and you're going to be way better. But having Mitchell now though will help them a lot more in moments when Garland is off the floor and Mitchell stays on the floor. As you can see here, when Garland was on the floor, the Cavs had an offensive rating of 113, which is really good. But the moment that he was off the floor, it dropped down all the way to 103. We are talking about a 10.6 differential. Now with Mitchell, I can't see that number dropping that low, which will help them have maybe a top 10 offense next season compared to the 19th best that they had last season. And we can't forget, the Cavs still ended with a record of 44-38 with a 19th best offense. You know what I mean? And a lot of the players missed a lot of time, but the injury that stood out the most was the injury from Jarrett Allen, as he missed the last 18 games of the season and the first playing game that the Cavs had, who they eventually lost to the Brooklyn Nets. But during that period, the Cavs went 7-11 and had a defensive rating of 117. Compare that to when he was healthy, you can just see how good Jarrett Allen actually is, as he makes him one of the best defense in the NBA, just 1.3 points behind the Warriors, who won the championship last season. If the Cavs do end up having a top 4 defense like they said they had last season when everybody was healthy, and they do end up with a top 10 offense that I project him to be next season, I could see them ending up with a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Of course, only time will tell. But I haven't even mentioned Evan Mobley. This guy's only 21 years old, he's at the beginning of his career, and he already showed last season superstar potential, and showed that he could be a defensive player of the year in the future. Like, already right now, he's one of the best big man defenders in the NBA. And if I remember correctly, the Cavs had the second seed at one point in the East last season. Of course, when the whole team was completely healthy. It's just amazing that the Cavs didn't give up Allen, Mobley, or Garland for Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs have the exact same team that broke out last season. They're just missing lower marketing. But now this new starting five of Darius Garland, who's going to be running the point, Donovan Mitchell, that's going to be at the shooting guard, Isaac Okoro could be at the 3, or maybe Caris LeVert, but I prefer Caris LeVert coming off the bench and giving them that, 50 points per game off the bench, like a Jordan Clarkson type player, like a Jordan Poole type player. Like, he needs to be, if they want to contend, he needs to be that 6th man that gives you like about 15 to 20 points a game. Then you have a power forward, Evan Mobley, and then a center, Jarrett Allen. That starting 5 right there has 3 All-Stars, right? Garland, Mitchell, and Allen, and a superstar potential player. That starting 5 can compete with the best starting 5 in the NBA, like the best teams. You know what I mean? Like, that starting 5 is really dangerous. The craziest thing about this starting 5 is that all of those players are not even in their prime. Okoro is 21, Mobley is 21, Garland is only 22 years old, Allen is 24, and Donovan Mitchell is 25, about to be 26. You hear that? All of those players are not even in their prime, and 3 of them are already all-stars. And then if we look at their bench, Rubio, like I mentioned before, LeVert, Cedi Osman, Kevin Love, and Robin Lopez. Come on, man, that bench is pretty deep, man. I can see them winning enough games to actually compete for a player spot. I already said before that they could be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference next season, but they're gonna be there for a playoff contention. You know what I mean? And if they do make it to the playoffs, they have Donovan Mitchell, who could lead them. Because when we look at his playoffs number, this guy has been playing incredible in the playoffs. He's averaging 28 points per game on 43, 36, 86 shooting splits in the 39 games he played in the playoffs. And in the 2020 and 2021 playoffs, he put up over 30 points per game. And oh my God, look at that shooting split from the 2020 playoffs. That's insane. And I understand that that was happening during the bubble, but the bubble was crazy. TJ Warren was acting like he was Michael Jordan. We had the Phoenix Suns going like 8-0 during the bubble. Then they missed the playoffs by just like half a game. Damian Lillard was going crazy during the bubble. Then we had Donovan Mitchell scoring 50 bombs during the bubble. And Jamal Murray also. Oh my God, and I just remember the Denver Nuggets actually came back from being down 3-1 during the bubble. You guys remember that? In back-to-back rounds in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz and against the Los Angeles Clippers. Oh my God, just remember Pandemic P now. Sorry, I had to do it, but Pandemic P was such a disappointment, man. Poor George. But he's great. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. He's a great player. But I want to talk about the Eastern Conference because the East for next season is looking stacked, bro. We have the Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, the 76ers, the Cavs, the Miami Heat, the Chicago Bulls, the Raptors, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Hawks. Like, one of them is going to miss the playoffs. That's 9 teams. One of them is going to have to miss the playoffs. You can even add the Charlotte Hornets there to that race. I'm sorry, but not all of them can make it to the playoffs, you know what I mean? So if I had to pick, it's tough for me to pick who could miss the playoffs, but if I had to pick 2 teams from those 10, I will have to say the Heat and Hawks. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I believe the Heat and the Hawks will miss the playoffs next season. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about that prediction, but I really believe the Heat and the Hawks will miss the playoffs next season. Oh shit. But let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers because that's what this video is all about. I do feel like in the next 3 years, they can actually get it done. You know what I mean? Next season, not. I feel like their ceiling is kind of like a second round exit in the playoffs. I don't feel like, it all depends on who they get. Let's say if in the first round of the playoffs, they get, let's say, the Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like they're going to get knocked out right away. But if they get, let's say, the 76ers, they could compete against them, and whoever else that makes it in the playoffs and they face in the first round, they could beat that team. You know what I mean? Only the Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks, I feel like they're gonna have a lot of trouble to make it past him, which is why I feel like the second round is kind of like the ceiling for them. But this team is looking good for the future because, like I said, they have so much potential. Allen and Mobley already are like two great big man defenders in the NBA that both like shot blocking. Oh my god, it's incredible. Those two are blocking shots left and right. Then you have Garland, who's an all-star, that's an incredible playmaker who can get his teammates involved, and he's just gonna keep getting better. Then you have Donovan Mitchell, who's, you can say he's an old superstar or borderline superstar already. Like during the regular season, he's averaging 24 points a game, whatever, and then in the playoffs he brings his game to the next level and is averaging 28 points per game during the playoffs. That's 8th of all time. Like that saw it and I was like, oh my god, this guy's averaging the 8th most points in the playoffs of all time. That's crazy. My goodness, man. So like, this team is looking very good, very good for the future. And bro, Mobley, I think Mobley is the one piece that needs to make a leap for this team to be real contenders. Right now they're like close to contending, but if Mobley needs to take that next step, if he does the next season, they're gonna be looking crazy good. But I believe he can get that done in the next 3 years. Like I said, in 3 years this team is gonna be looking very different. But let me know down in the comment section your thoughts on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Do you think they can actually win the championship next season or not? I mean, I don't think so, but let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. So that brings me to the end. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and like the video if you enjoy content like this. And hopefully I'll see you all guys in the next one.